What's up, you guys? This is the Authentic Empress. When I say that I'm just no longer willing to sustain or tolerate abuse at the hands of anybody, the reason why in the caption I put family included is because family is where it started. And though I've taken steps and actions to separate myself and put distance between us, I didn't necessarily completely close the door. And I feel like by me not completely closing the door, closing that chapter, and being at peace with it instead of having this internal battle within the purity of my heart and my desire for stability within my family, or wanting harmony to be restored and unity, that has to be a mutual thing. And to be honest, I've kind of always been that person all of my life with them. And there's a lot of cloaking, there's a lot of veiling, there's a lot of sweeping things under the rug, there's a lot of covering unaddressed things, making excuses and pointing blame elsewhere, and just a whole lot of lack of accountability, lack of consideration, um, and lack of intentional repair, lack of effort for that intentional repair. And I'm recalling a conversation that I had with my mother, after me getting to a place where I've become energetically and spiritually estranged from family. And I remember telling her how I don't even know how to connect with family anymore. Um, this is something that I don't know if, God kind of helped deliver me from, and emphasis on deliverance, because it was really like this karmic loop, in regards to myself, that I battled with for a very long time. And I feel like, um, by keeping a window cracked, keeping the door cracked, or reopening the door, I feel like I just allowed access to certain entities and um, spirits and entities, curses, hexes, whatever. Like, I just kind of opened the door, um, or the gateway for that, by still remaining, or still trying to hold on to hope in regards to them. And I received, some guidance, some confirmation, and I got to, as I meditate on it, I really got to a place where when I look at everything now, as time is going on, I look at it like, okay, at this point, I'm still straddling the fence, not even for myself anymore, is still putting myself on the back burner. Um, Even though I don't feel, supported, I don't feel the love that should be obvious, opposed to you having to create narratives or take your own understanding and intellect and try to create this concoction of convincing yourself that this is safe, secure love, coming from these people. Um, so just in general, I was meditating on how I survived so many um, pathways or avenues of fake love, or mean spirited energy that I didn't deserve, from different walks of life, whether that was through church, church members, whether that was through family, um, friends of family, family of family, friends. Uh, and I'm at this place where, I used to be, one of those cousins that um, I had like this very protective energy, like, and it was something that came natural, especially for a particular cousin. And again, that energy didn't feel mutual. To be honest, it never felt mutual, never. Um, Not into like the full capacity or like that complete 360. It felt like, you know, where I was steadfast in regards to this person or certain people, I feel like they were more wavering when it came to me. There was times where they did fuck with me, and there was times where they fuck with me for convenience. You get what I'm saying? Because there was something in it for them. Um, just kind of using me, using my energy, and just a lack of sincerity. Even if they wanted me around to get some type of ego stroke, comparing their life to mine, or wanting to flash things that they have, or and hoping to ignite or conjure some type of feelings of envy or jealousy out of me, which was really projections, but them wanting to swap that energy out with me because me just simply being myself, or things about me that I can't control. Like, for example, the way that I look, the way that I think, the way that I perceive things, my interests, the way that I dress myself, my creativity, the things that I attract, the way that people receive me, like the way that people desire me or are interested in me, or just whatever, right? Um, Things that were never used or intended to be weaponized against anybody. It's just simply me being myself, me just living my life and my path, that's ordained for me. And it's a bittersweet break because I genuinely, I'm not on the side of, oh, I hate these people. I actually deeply love my family. And that's what's made it challenging for me. That's the doorway that kind of had me stuck in this loop, because I love them so much. I love them so deeply, and I love them to the extent where I will be considerate of them. I will be considerate of their feelings. I will be considerate of how they feel about themselves, how I make them feel. I will be considerate about things that I may have done or said, and how it may have affected them, and actually try to take the steps to repair, to mend, to show love. And you know, I feel like I was met, with this energy of them trying to flip the script, them trying to play oblivious and make it seem like I owe them something and they don't owe me anything when they do, you know. Um, I'm talking about people who have betrayed me more than I've betrayed them. If they want to say that I betrayed them, I'm saying people who have opened the door to betrayal, in our relationships, and have the entitlement not only to my energy, but the entitlement to um, thinking that I should be the one to take initiative when it's them that should take the initiative, right? Um, I recognize the traits, the beautiful traits and qualities about myself in regards to how I would check on people. I would, be considerate. I would um, modify, how I show up, out of consideration of others, or how my energy may impact the next person or the environment. However, I can no longer give that energy or give that of myself to people who don't move the same way, to people who are not as considerate, when it comes to me and their energy or themselves or how they do things. Um, attention to detail, being attentive overall, and not abusing what you've learned, what you've gathered, what you've educated yourself on, or what you've been educated to know about me or my experiences, or, whether that be trauma, whether that be, and that could be like light trauma, medium trauma, to the more intense. I don't feel um, any desire to put myself in the path of harm with anybody anymore who has been harmful to me when I've been harmless to them. So it's something, it's about being responsible with your life, being responsible with yourself, and taking the right risk. There's a lot of distortion around risk taking, especially when it comes to relationships, especially when it comes to family, connection overall. And am I saying that everybody, am I saying that people are perfect? Absolutely not. I'm not perfect. What I'm saying is, when you identify imperfections, there are steps, and effort that can be applied to perfect the imperfection, to repair, what's been damaged, right? And for those people who choose arrogance, for those people who choose competition, for those people who choose um, lack of accountability, or um, discord or pride, choose all of these other things, greed, backbiting, um, backdooring you, vengeance, whatever. For those people who choose that instead of the higher option, the higher vibrational option, I don't. It would be irresponsible for me to open doors for those people anymore now. The responsible thing absolutely would be to give them the opportunity, to repair, to mend things. Um, However, in that, you still have to be discerning in whatever that is, right? You have to be always spiritually aware. Um, all those things that people skate through or skate by or bypass when it comes to the average person. You get what I'm saying? Like, they're generally moving or living a life or surrounding themselves with individuals who are not seeing with their spiritual eyes, listening with their spiritual ears, using their senses, to detect accurate information, to detect the truth, to navigate themselves through darkness, to navigate through the shadows. You get what I'm saying? Like, when they're so accustomed to living amongst people who are not going to hold them accountable, living amongst people who are just floating, you know what I'm saying, who are addicted to distractions and caught in their own karmic loops that keep them blinded or keep them on this downward spiral or this stagnant plane. We have to be responsible enough to continue moving with God, to continue, understanding that God is eternal. Um, yes, God talks about stillness, but when you think about the stillness of an ocean, the water is always still moving. It's just more about this calmness of the water, right? Um, but this ebb and flow, heavy emphasis on ebb and flow, regardless of how people want to define or depict that energy, at the end of the day, when your body is lying down and you're asleep, your body is still growing. Your body is growing. Your hair is growing, right? Something is always changing. Something is always evolving. Something is always digesting. There's always constant movement. And when there's stagnancy within the body, when there's stagnancy on the body, right, it can create like dire results, or results that are not pleasing, so to speak. Like, nobody likes when their hair stops growing on their head and they begin to bald. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, likes when they're having problems digesting their food. And because when you have all this waste build up in your body, that can create cancer. You know what I'm saying? That can create dis-ease in the body. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you should always be purifying yourself. You should always be susceptible to purification, detoxification. And when there's people that you're connected to who are refusing that, and then want you to be a victim to their refusal to improve, their refusal to uh, heal, their refusal to purify, digest, excrete waste, things that do not belong. They're refusing to put in the things that will help aid their life, help aid their healing. That's gonna, exhaust more of your energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, to constantly try to convince them, pour into them, having, the same conversations, just repetitive conversations that lead to no resolution that is mutual, that leads to, no type of resolve, no growth, at least growth of good things, and death of things that need to end. So when people are not being intentional with the life and death energy, right? And we're connected to these people, that means that the way that they wield that energy can be very destructive. It can be very harmful. It can be just not conducive to harmony, right? It can create a lot of disharmony, create a lot of chaos, right? Because that means if they're not consciously with awareness with knowledge and wisdom, intentionally, willing life and death energy. This is what abuse, this is what breeds abuse. And there's going to be a lot of illusions when it comes to your faith, when it comes to trusting the divine, trusting yourself, in God. There's going to be a lot of illusions to distort your faith. So going back to, taking healthy risks or risks that are aligned, with your divine purpose or with the higher good of things, with what restores or what creates harmony. So same thing with the creation energy. If people are not um disciplined, if they lack self-control, if they lack direction, if they are refusing edification, you get what I'm saying? It's like creation energy manifests, and it can manifest in a divine manner or it can manifest in a demonic manner. Hence why there's a such thing of abusing sexuality or the sexual energy, opposed to treating it as sacred, using it to create like art or projects or things that can benefit the environment, that could benefit your legacy, that could benefit yourself, that can create benefits in the long run. Foresight. you know So it's not healthy to remain connected to people who are loose with their sexual energy. Never mind if you was ever loose with your sexual energy. Never mind if you was ever imbalanced or experienced imbalances. Okay, nobody is supposed to remain in imbalance. No one is supposed to remain disharmonious within themselves or the environments around them or within other people's lives. You get what I'm saying? That's why there's sinful energy and then there's fruits of the spirit. You will know them by their fruits. That's why one bad apple can spoil the bunch. There was a lot of um, incest and sexual perversion in my family growing up. There was a lot of abuse of alcohol. There was a lot of abuse of the tongue, heavy gossip and slander and defamation within my own family members. I was a victim of sexual abuse since I was a child from my own family. I was a victim of defamation, slander, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse from a young age from my family. I had parents who would go and gossip about me to other people instead of, you know, instead of using the tongue, instead of using that energy in the upright, instead of trying to understand me, trying to create real solutions, that don't exclude me. I'm gonna say this, and people who's meant to understand it will understand it. You ever had people who try to create solutions or resolve for you that literally excludes you at the core? It excludes you and is more fitting to what they're accustomed to, or the surface that they're willing to stay on. You get what I'm saying? But it totally disregards you at the core. And it's more so an energy of a band-aid, an energy of, trying to just paint over something, right? A good example would be, okay, let's say a person has um, a fungal infection in their nail or their nails, and instead of looking into antibiotics, looking into ointments, or going to the doctor, or doing research, herbal, remedies or whatever, instead of doing their due diligence, right, researching energy in order to get to the root cause of the issue, they'll just get some polish, a deep color polish, and paint over that nail so that you no longer see the fungal infection in the nail bed. You get what I'm saying? That's the energy um, that I've allowed to keep interrupting my life through other people, through people that I dated, people that I've been friends with, people that I've tried to do business with. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. You're going to have to set firm, clear boundaries that this is not healthy for me. This is not, what I'm here for. This is, I'm not a vessel that's going to house that energy. I'm no longer going to be used for that. I'm no longer going to be abused. And it's like, when it comes to taking those risks, when it comes to your dignity and your integrity, there's going to be people who try to, rebuttal or fight back or buck back or try to disrupt your life, try to fight for your attention to remain on them, try to fight for you to keep that access open to demonic energy. And it's not gonna, necessarily always be easy on the way there. It's gonna be a lot of tears. It's gonna be a lot of strong will that's necessary. That saying that only the strong survive, man, like, there's so many people who get defeated by energies that they're afraid to detach from, that are clearly unhealthy for them, destroying their mental health, their psychological health, distorting their emotional body, fragmenting their emotional body, confusing them about God and the existence of God. Putting them or pushing them to that place of hardening their hearts, growing to become bitter, becoming so broken down that now they're susceptible and viable vessels of, the spirit of abuse, the spirit of murderers, the spirit of pedophiles, the spirit of perverts, the spirit of rage, the spirit of, you know what I'm saying? Jezebel, incubus, succubus, the spirit of greed, gluttony, hate, envy, jealousy, covetousness, apathy, or becoming a vessel to a legion of demons. Now they're a house. What could have been a temple is now a crack house to a whole bunch of demonic energies and entities, parasites, becoming a parasite, becoming vampires, becoming leeches, all the different archetypes of the demonic world that are out there lurking, seeking whom they can devour, whom can they inhabit, cohabit. I'm not willing to have the same talks. The same talks. I'm not willing to have to keep reaffirming boundaries that I've already affirmed with people who know my boundaries and who are intentionally overstepping them, pushing them intentionally. People who are pretending to be oblivious when they know what's triggering to you, when they're intentionally trying to tempt you into anger, intentionally trying to tempt you into depression, intentionally trying to tempt you into self-destruction, self-sabotage, mental illness, to support some type of narrative so they can, for lustful reasons, or so they can get some type of gain from that, some type of greed, money, materials, ego strokes, to their insecurities that are triggered by someone such as yourself. I'm done. I close those portals. I close those doors. I lock them. And I command the spirits responsible for these generational curses, these generational hexes and toxic patterns and perversions. I command those spirits, those entities, to flee far from me into the vessels that with their willpower choose to be vessels of that, to be vessels of demons, for demons, to house demons within themselves. The same willpower and fortitude that God gives me, they have an invitation to that. It is not my responsibility to allow anybody to use me as target practice. I deserve to be free. I deserve to talk to people where the conversation remains loving from the beginning to the end. I deserve people who show up in my life as God shows up in my life, with compassion from Alpha to Omega, with understanding from Alpha to Omega, from Genesis to Exodus, with accountability, with faithfulness, real friendship, from Genesis to Exodus, from the beginning, in the middle, and to the end. God is the ultimate example of what we deserve for ourselves, of what we can choose. We get to choose between God or the devil. We get to choose with our willpower to open ourselves up to divinity or open ourselves up to demonic energy. We get to choose. And because we get to choose, there's going to be strong deception, strong illusions, strong delusion, strong distortion, masquerading themselves as light long enough for you to let them in, for them to vandalize your temple, vandalize the work that you've done on yourself, And that's why when we do all the shadow work that we do, all the healing that we do, the sitting with ourselves, being real with ourselves and others, all that work that we do, that is why a person can masquerade themselves long enough for your pure-hearted ass to love them just so they can gain access to come and vandalize all that you've built. Just because they failed, they refuse, they're too coward to heal themselves, to sit with themselves, to hold themselves accountable, to do introspection, and recognize how they are willing and applying life and death energy. And then have the nerve to throw tantrums when you refuse or don't allow them to come all willy-nilly trying to sow death to the life that you've created. Because they haven't put a death to their envy. They haven't put death to their feelings of worthlessness. They haven't put death to insecurities. They haven't put death to jealousy. They haven't put death to bondage. And get upset with you because you won't let them come and put a death to you, to your sovereign confidence, to your self-love. To your grace, your wisdom. They want you to dumb yourself down because they don't want to become more intelligent. They don't want to develop their intuitive intelligence. They don't want to develop their discernment. And so they want your development to decline, to make themselves feel better. Well, fuck what they feel. Fuck how they feel. Fuck how they feel. Simple as that. And you know why it's fuck how they feel? Because every single day they choose to say fuck how they feel. And as a result, that's how they're going to show up when it comes to other people. If they don't give a fuck about their own feelings, they can't give a fuck about nobody else's feelings. So who the fuck am I to give a fuck about theirs? Over mine? And override me? Override how I feel about myself? Absolutely not. Let you come in with your projections, trying to plant seeds to taint how I feel about myself? Absolutely not. You take them seeds back. And I ain't watering shit but myself. I ain't watering shit but love that is reflective of God's love. If the fruit ain't pure, I'm not eating it. I'm not biting it. If the seeds aren't pure, I'm not receiving it. And that's why our body rejects things that are not good for us. That's why God led me to do a video several years ago about how your body and nature is the prime example of how we should be living on a soul level, on a mental level, on an emotional level. Your body is always detoxing, whether that's through acne, whether that's through taking a shit, whether that's through vomiting, getting sick, coughing up mucus. Your body is always detoxing itself. Your soul is supposed to do the same damn thing. Your mind is supposed to do the same damn thing. Your emotional body is supposed to do the same damn thing every fucking day.
digesting, releasing, pouring into. So don't let nobody pour hatred into you. Don't let nobody pour bitterness into you. Don't let nobody pour insecurities into you. Don't let nobody pour self-abandonment into you because they choose to abandon themselves. Save yourself. And you pour into God. You pour into those. You pour love into those who pour love into you. You pour life into those who pour life into you. And you pour death into those who attempt to pour death into you. Some of us, if anybody's under the weather right now, I got a strong feeling that it has very little to do with seasonal changes, very little to do with physical bacteria, and all the more to do with spiritual, emotional, psychological bacteria. You got the Star card. It's time to heal for real. It's time to shine and keep shining. It's time to refuse anybody trying to drain your energy, harvest off your energy, putting you in the pathway of energy harvesters or people, these unhealed ass people that want to make you a target and try to feed off you because they can't produce their own divine fruits. The Emperor. The Devil in the reverse. Ace of Wands. Death. Death to what? Five of Swords. Five of Pentacles. Shaking my head. Ace of Swords. This is the truth. Yeah. This is the end of that era. It's the end of this era of these people coming in with this demonic ass energy. Five of Swords energy. Trying to put endings, create endings in your fucking life. Endings to your beginnings, to your blessings. Wanting you to be left out in the cold. And then want to celebrate it. Three of Cups, Six of Wands. Like this is an achievement. Yeah, nah, that's enough of that. It's the end of that era. Period. It's the end of that. The Hierophant. It's the end of that. Temperaments. Strength card. Nine of Wands. The Ace of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles. the Nine of Cups, the Empress. For those of you who are meant to hear this and who are susceptible and receptive to this message, and you are in alignment with the divine, I love you. And as for evil, I will always hate evil. I will always hate evil, no matter who it shows up in, no matter where it shows up. Evil will always be my enemy. Evil will never be safe with me. So mote it be.